Hello, hello, Put Me in Coaching family. I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. I know we were off last week, so I'm happy to be back with you and doing our Sunday live classes. So if you're watching live, go ahead, just drop a hashtag live in the chat. If you're watching replay, just drop a hashtag replay. We're going to talk tonight about taking back control. Now's the time of year where everyone's routine is off. I know my routine has been very off, being on vacation for a little while and just everything that's going on, right? And so it's so easy to let yourself slide and get out of the routine. And so now more than ever, it's time to take back control and channel your focus into where it is that you need it to be to meet your goals. Maybe your goal is just to maintain right now, and that's great. Maybe your goal is to continue losing a little bit, and that's great too. Whatever your goal is, now's the time to revisit it and make sure that you are on track and staying focused to being able to achieve that goal within the time frame that you set it. Now, that doesn't always mean that we hit it right on target, but what it means is we're making steady progress toward our goal. Okay. And so a lot of times, everything new comes out. We have these newfangled ways, and we've all been through that, right? Drop a hashtag yes, or just yes, drop a yes in the chat. If you've ever gone through something where you see this new way to do things and you're like, oh, I'm going to try that. And what sparked this was I actually got a text message from one of my friends last night, and she was laughing because she sent me a screenshot of something she came across that her friend sent her. She's a flight attendant. And back in the 70s, to be a flight attendant, there were certain weight requirements, certain all of that, right? And so it was this formula to drop 10 pounds in 4 days so that they could meet the requirement. And it was funny because it was the grapefruit diet, if you've ever heard of the grapefruit diet. And I was reading it and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's not that far off from Simple Fat Burn, but it was a little bit different. And it was just funny because she said, can you believe this? And companies used to send that out if they had certain weight requirements or whatever. And so what sparked this was getting back to the basics and really taking back control and dialing things in. So how do we do things? Right? It's very simple. Doesn't mean it's always easy, but it is simple. And that simple formula is that 20 to 30 grams of protein, 5+ grams of fiber, 5 to 8 grams of fat, 10 to 15 grams of carbs or less per meal. That's it. That is the sweet spot. That is the golden ticket. And that's what works. It's when we start trying to get fancy that we think we sneak these things in where we're like, oh, well, I think this works as far as numbers go. But in reality, one or two of the formula isn't being met. And then before we know it, we're not on track, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what they say. And so I want to really just take a breath, right? We're almost halfway through the year, almost complete with that 6-month mark. So I want to take a breath and really think about what it is we need to focus on to regroup and refocus our energy into what works versus what doesn't work. Okay. And I was at a training last weekend, and in that training, it was more of a business focused training, but it still was very powerful what he said. He said, we're all born CEOs of our lives, right? We're all born to achieve and have whatever it is that we want to achieve or have. But somewhere at some point in our life, whether it's childhood or whether it was some piece of trauma or an event, something happened that derailed our confidence enough to believe in ourselves, to understand that we can be, do, or have whatever it is we want. And so when that piece, whether it was trauma, whether it was an event, whether it was just some form of continued just pounding of a belief, right? At some point that derailed our confidence in ourselves, And so then we started thinking, well, maybe I don't deserve it, or maybe I'm not worthy of that, or maybe I just can't do it, right? But we know there's nothing we can't be, do, or have. And I think that's a really important concept. And that's why we really talk about things like affirmations. We talk about things like scripting. We talk about things like setting goals. Because if it's not written down and we don't set the goal, we can't start to train our subconscious mind to understand it. And that's what's really the key factor in achieving long lasting results, right? We can do anything for a week, a month, a couple months, but to achieve those long lasting results is where we really have to get that focus in. Okay. So, how do I stay healthy despite the health challenges I've had since my initial journey? The answer is simple: following the formula for the most part. Do I do it perfectly 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Nobody's perfect, right? And I have to check myself and catch myself and regroup and put myself back on track often, right? But that's the beauty of this formula. It's not meant to be something that you never enjoy anything, you never do anything a little bit off track of, but it's meant to be there when you need to regroup. And it's meant to be an outline and a guide of how you eat, right? And then that way, when you need to dial it in and focus because, hey, you need to drop some weight, you're able to dial it in and focus on that for longer periods of time and have those treats go fewer and further between. And so that's how I stay healthy. I still have that structure and that framework of 20 to 30 grams of protein. Where is that coming from? As a matter of fact, I just had dinner with a friend tonight, and she said, well, we got to make sure we have some protein with our dinner. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's because she's known me. I've been friends with her for over 20 years. So she watched me through that whole journey and she knows. So she reaches out to me anytime she has a question about something she's eating. Hey, is this okay? You know, what do you think this is? Now, the difference between her and a lot of you, and I'm not knocking her, I would say this to her face, but the difference between her and y'all, you have opted in, right? You show up, you're here, you have the accountability, you have the tracking. She doesn't want any of that. She just wants a quick, like, hey, is this okay to eat? And for that day, yeah, absolutely. But is she going to do that time and time again? Probably not. Right. And so that's okay. Right. That works for her right now. But eventually she's going to get to the point where she's like, okay, I need some extra accountability and some extra tracking. And so when we are figuring out where it is we need to really take back control, we have to get very honest with ourselves. Okay. And this is where you do a deep dive and you do an inventory of what's working and what's not. Okay. Excuse me. So let's look at your diet. First of all, what we eat, what we think, and what we do. So you look at what we eat. Is that working for you right now? Is what you're eating helping you to maintain, lose, achieve your goals? Okay. And it's very simple. It's a yes or no. It's either I'm on plan or I'm not on plan. Okay. If your goals are to be losing, then those net carbs need to be below 20 or below per day. And if they're not, then you're simply not following the formula. You're not eating in terms of what it is you want. So you need to take back control of that. Look at the formula, look at your food labels, look at the ingredients. Where is it that you need to make an adjustment? Okay, then we have the what we think. Are you doing your scripting? Are you doing your gratitude practice? Are you doing the daily exercises to really strengthen your subconscious mind to tip the scales to the positive? It's a yes or no question. You're either doing it or you're not. You're doing your meditation, you're doing your scripting, your prayer, your devotionals, whatever that is that keeps you functioning in that positive frame of mind If you're not doing that, then that's the area you need to take back control in. And then the last one, the what you do. Okay. Are you doing the things you need to do to take control and help you move you towards your goals? Now, what is that? Are you doing your exercise? Are you drinking your water? Are you taking your supplements? Are you tracking your food? And I just want you to ponder that for a little bit. Just kind of let the wheels turn. If you are, great. If you're not, again, it's a yes or no. Am I doing it or not? And so that's a quick way we can take inventory, what we eat, what we think, what we do. Take that inventory and decide, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And if the answer is no, figure out how you're going to take back control and implement something small this week to help take back control of that. Okay. So let's say the what we eat is not on point. Okay. I know it hasn't been for me this past week, not at all. Okay. So I have to take inventory of that and say, okay, where is it that I need to focus to make sure that my plan of eating is going to be on track this week? All right. So I look at that and I say, okay, I need to make sure I've been getting my protein in. That's not a problem. Right. Mine is the net carbohydrates. So I need to tighten that up a little bit. Okay. I need to figure that out. Okay. And that's simply just planning ahead. That's where I need to make sure I'm getting that protein is good. And it always is, because remember, I've created the habit of building my meals around the protein. So I'm always getting enough protein. But I need to tone it down on the carbohydrates a little bit because I've got an event coming up that I need to make sure that I'm dropping a little bit for, right? I'm no longer trying to maintain right now. I'm trying to drop a little bit, and that's okay. I'm able to clean it up to where I can dial it in and make that happen. Okay. And my what I do has not been perfect, right? I've missed a couple of workouts, which is not like me, right? And so I'm going to make sure that I dial that in and I'm 100% this week. Now, my scripting and gratitude, that's been on point. So the what I think has been totally on point. That's how I'm able to stay in that positive frame of mind and not be so bummed out about it, not be disappointed in myself, because guess what? It's a week. It's okay. It's going to be okay because I know I'm going to be able to get back on track. So I'm not worried about it because I continue to do the things I need to do on the what I think front so that that stays solid. So I'm still happy with how things are going. I'm still happy with the way I feel, but I know I need to tone it in a little bit and clean it up. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so you see how very easily I could have fallen into the trap of the negative thinking, and then everything starts to spiral. But before that happens, we're going to reel it back in. We're going to make some tiny tweaks. It's not big tweaks. It's just tiny little tweaks, tiny changes. And we're going to get it together. And we're going to make it work. And so figure out, and maybe you need to dial something in on all three fronts. Okay. So do something small, right? Put a small plan of action in for each one. If you're answering no in all three of those columns, which it's possible, right? I've been there, absolutely been there. But if you answered no in all three of those columns, then do something simple. Tell yourself, I'm going to focus on protein intake this week. Plus, I'm going to make sure I do at least 5 minutes of scripting. You can do anything for 5 minutes, right? And I'm going to make sure I do something active every day, whether that's a 10-minute walk or maybe some yoga. Okay. So we start small and we build into where we're at. Right? I went to the gym this morning, right? Because I knew I needed to refocus and regroup. I've been getting my lifting workouts in, but I haven't necessarily been doing all the cardio that my body is used to doing. So I need to make sure I add that back in. And it's just simply because things have been busy. My schedule's been crazy. But even though my schedule's crazy, It wasn't just crazy for 1 week, it's been crazy for a while. So I need to find that adjustment. And I need to commit to making that adjustment. All right. My water intake has been much better this week and last week. Okay. Because I do that inventory constantly, right? It should be a weekly inventory that you do. And this is a great time to do it is on these classes. We plug in, we're getting some information, and we're able to figure out, okay, this is what I need to add in. This is where maybe I'm missing the mark a little bit, but I've still opted in. So I'm still following the system, right? But maybe my what I eat isn't quite right this last week, or maybe the what I do or the what I think, something's not quite right. So I just need to take these little tweaks. And then before you know it, so you implement those 3 tiny changes this week, or 2 or 1 tiny change, whatever it is that you need to do in either area. Okay. And then next week you take an inventory. Great. This is what I said I was going to do. Did I do that? Yes. Did I do that? No. It's a yes or no. And if you didn't, then you work on implementing that next week, right? And if you did do it, great. Let's add 1 little tiny thing on top of it. Again, habit stacking. You're creating those habits. So yeah, I did that. So now, and I know this week I need to make sure I'm adding back my supplements in, right? I've got a couple new supplements that I'm wanting to take and introduce. And so I need to make sure I'm adding those in. Because again, that's going to help with the energy levels, especially when I have 16, 17-hour days, right? And those are of my choosing. It's not because it's anything I have to do, but it's because I have certain financial and career goals that I'm working towards. Okay. And so these are the things that I have to put in place. And so I have to reset my health goals around that, right? They still need to exist because at the end of the day, I still have to be healthy. Health is wealth. And so if we're not healthy, you can't pour from an empty cup. Okay. So I've got to make sure I'm getting the health goals met, right? And that includes exercising, drinking water, and eating right. And I'm just going to feel better, right? So that's when you take that inventory and you figure out, okay, what is it that I need to add, subtract? Where is it that I need to put my focus so that I can make sure I'm reaching the goals I want to reach? All right. And so that's how we really start to take back control piece by piece. And I know I said this a couple weeks ago on there, but how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. And so how do we create that consistent, long lasting change? How do we take back control when things get hectic, when things get crazy? Right? It's that 1 little step at a time. And the more we can create those stepping stones and like a ladder, you're going to be way better off, right? Rory Vaden or Vader, I don't know. I think it's Rory Vaden. He has a whole theory called take the stairs, right? And what that means is you take the stairs because
the stairs.
Oh, whoops. My phone apparently knows somebody named the stairs. And so when I said take the stairs, it decided to call somebody that named the stairs. But anyway, so Rory Vaden says his whole philosophy is take the stairs, right? And the reason is because when you take the stairs, you're doing it 1 step at a time. And so you're building piece by piece on top of it. When we're taking the elevator or an escalator, everything's accelerated and you're not building those strong foundations, right? I met a guy who manages this math tutoring center called Mathnasium this week. And he was talking about how the way they work is they do an initial assessment and they figure out where the student is. And then they go back, they have their own curriculum they follow. And then they also help with the curriculum that they're learning in school. But they're really creating those foundational blocks because what they said is if they're just helping with whatever they're learning in school, if the student never got these foundational blocks, they're never going to retain the information as they move on and move up and as things get harder. And it's always going to be a struggle, right? And so it's funny, I joke when I say I don't do public math. I have the foundational skills, I have a degree in accounting, but it's funny to me because I look back and they always said in school, like, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket. You're not always going to have access to a calculator. Now, what do we have? We have calculators on our phones. Right. And so I think that has made things a lot harder. And I can do simple math, but it's just funny because you have these foundational skills that don't get put in place, and that goes for everything in life. And so that take the stairs philosophy is really very, very powerful. And I think if we think about it in our minds like that, with anything, getting healthy, career, financial goals, anything, the more we take time to build that foundation and then just gradually go up and up and up, we're going to be more successful, right? Because elevators and escalators break down all the time, right? You constantly see when I'm going through airports or shopping whatever, if they have an elevator or escalator, a lot of times it'll say out of order. But guess what's never out of order? Stairs. And that's exactly what it means to have the same philosophy in life, right? If we're always working from taking the stairs mindset instead of always trying to fast track things, because those fast tracks, they break down. And why do they break down? Because it's meant to make things simpler, right? And easier, but then there's no foundation, right? The stairs never break down. All right. So I'm going to leave you with that tonight. Really think about where it is that you need to create some foundational skills, right? And that's why you come here, right? These are the foundations. This is what helps you move toward your goals, right? But what is it that you need to really take back control of as far as the foundation goes? And then how are you going to create those steps to get there? All right. So I will see you back here next Sunday, same time, same place, and we will continue to climb the stairs and reach our goals one class at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, and one month, week, day at a time. So I'm so proud of each and every one of you for continuing to plug in. I'm absolutely so grateful for all of you. And I'm wishing you all the success this week. I'll see you back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. Bye, everyone.